Welcome to Glow Talk, a podcast by the Collagen Co, where beauty meets nutrition through honest, expert-led conversations that support women through every phase of life. My name is Millie. I'm the resident dietitian and nutritionist here at the Collagen Co. And today I am joined by the incredible Olivia Arezzolo. She is Australia's leading sleep expert. Welcome to the couch, Olivia. It's such a delight to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. I'm so excited to get into our chat. Today we are talking all things sleep, of course, but in particular the effect that sleep can have on our weight goals or our weight management goals and how it can affect all different facets of our life, from energy to metabolism to skin health. So I can't wait to get stuck into the nitty-gritty. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
About me. Well, it was my birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday for yesterday.
Of course, we're all here to celebrate my birthday.
That's the only reason.
So as mentioned, I'm a sleep expert. I do a lot of keynote speaking, which I absolutely love because my biggest goal is to help everyone feel their best inside and out via sleep. And I know that when we are in a group and we're able to share that, experience between us, it's much more powerful.
Yeah.
I guess why I, created my mission. I was very unwell in my teens. I was hospitalized for 6 months with anorexia and depression.
Yeah.
And I really learned the full extent of what happens when we don't have our wellness. And I really had everything that I love taken away. And in my recovery, I vowed to never let anyone else experience that same, trauma, and really made it my endeavor to help everyone, find their light
Yeah.
and move from their darkness into their greatest self.
Yeah.
And I know that, through my studies, psychology, sleep psychology, nutrition, and fitness, what the research shows is that sleep, of all the pillars, is the most powerful pillar. And so in improving our wellness, in improving our nutrition, our fitness, our mindset, start with sleep. By science, it is the most effective and efficient way to optimize our wellness collectively.
Yeah, I second that. I mean, I have a 1-year-old, so sleep deprivation is my entire personality at the moment. But to your point, even if you're fueling adequately, moving your body, if you're not sleeping properly, it just affects every single element
Yeah.
of your life, doesn't it? So,
Literally,
yeah.
there was research that recently found lack of sleep increases the risk of 128 illnesses and
Wow.
alters 711 genes.
That is like mind blowing.
Yeah.
We can, appreciate the importance of an adequate night's sleep. Speaking of sleep, I mean, I know this feels like a very cliche place to start, but I feel like it's one of the common questions that we get. How much sleep do we need? Like, what are the guidelines saying?
Okay. So it depends on if you're a male or a female.
Yeah.
It also depends on your chronotype,
Okay.
your sleep debt, and your underlying circadian genes. As a general rule, males need 7 to 9 hours. Females, they need a little bit more.
Okay.
So
More than 9?
So an extra 30 minutes on average, so 7.5 to 9.5. So the research has found that we have a higher emotional load, and so therefore we need to spend more time in sleep to clear out and to rebalance our nervous system.
That makes so much sense.
During pregnancy, our needs increase to 9 to 11 hours.
Wow.
Yes. And though in perimenopause, menopause, and when we are menstruating, we may not sleep as well. Our sleep needs stay the same. It's just becomes more difficult to attain that sleep. And so we find that we need to be a bit more mindful that we're not going to be able to exert as much in those phases
Okay.
because we really have limited capacity to restore.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, a very top line on, sleep needs. In terms of, the circadian genes,
Yeah.
there is a rare genotype. Those who have a variation of the DEC2 gene, for example, they can thrive on 6 hours and 25 minutes. Now, and I'm sure that there's probably
So
many,
specific.
very, very specific. And I'm sure that there's many listeners probably thinking, yes, that's me. Because
Yeah.
I hear this all the time. It's like, yeah, but I'm pretty
I'm
okay. Yeah, I'm good,
Mm.
Okay, so statistically, your likelihood of getting struck by lightning is twice as likely.
So those people are lying.
Not lying, it's literally 4 in every 10,000. It
Wow.
is so rare.
Yeah.
And so also to ask ourselves, are we really thriving or are we just surviving? Because think about the nutrition that you need to survive versus the nutrition that you need to thrive. Very, very different. Sleep is the same. Sure, you may be able to survive, but are you thriving? Because the goal is not to simply survive, it is to thrive.
Yeah, exactly right. And the two are worlds apart, aren't they?
Yes.
Especially, I mean, you use nutrition as an example, which is speaking to my
Yeah.
language, but it's so true. We can, of course, survive off the bare minimum, but we're our best selves when we're getting everything that we, need and to function optimally.
Exactly
I'm so
right.
glad you mentioned the emotional load that women carry because I feel like specifically since becoming a mum, that mental load,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing less physically than I ever have before, but I am so
Only,
drained at the end of the day.
only,
Only
catering to
raising a child.
exactly, just that old chestnut.
You know what it's like.
I honestly have so much respect for you and all mums.
Thank
No,
you.
honestly, like I first and foremost, I love my sleep so much. I don't understand how I'm going to cope when I do have
Yeah.
a child and I'm getting, a few hours sleep per night. There was research which found average there's research which has found in the first year of being a parent, we lose 59% of our total sleep time and sleep on average for 4.5 hours a night. Now, somebody who loves sleep, not just as a profession, but personally, I don't know how I'm going to cope.
Isn't
at
that
all.
something to do with the specific hormones that we
Yeah, I think
release during childbirth?
So oxytocin is released and dopamine and, serotonin, all of our love hormones. And so they can somewhat offset, our stress levels, but there's still that high level of, depletion from lack of sleep. I think though a lot of parents are just it's what can you do?
Exactly.
And
It is
so
what it is.
yeah, and I think, when you don't have a solution, you're not going to really make a song and a dance about it. You're going to say, okay, well, I'm just going to get through as best as I can.
Yeah.
And with that mindset, you can often push through your barriers.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That feels like my entire life, the last 16 months. It's sort of like, well, we can't necessarily change the sleep
Yeah,
situation.
exactly. So you
So
just
what can we do from a nutrition, movement, mindset perspective, like you mentioned before, to help make the days a little bit easier and get us more towards that thriving
yes.
mentality rather than surviving? For, let's talk about mums, and I hate to bring this about myself, but what can we
let's
actually-
make it all about. This is
a
just about
console.
Millie.
And I know you specifically said, Millie, not infant sleep, just so I didn't ask you all about my sleep.
Please don't.
Can we not go there? Which is so fair. But if we aren't getting those, 7.5 to 9.5 hours worth of sleep, but we still have to show up to work, we have to be our best selves the next day, what can we do if we know that those hours, getting enough sleep is off the cards?
Yeah. So something that will be music to many, many mums' ears, but also just, there's a lot of professionals that aren't getting enough sleep. Maybe they're traveling, I travel a lot. Sometimes I don't get enough sleep. Maybe you're going through a stressful period. And so there are many times where sleep does take a second seat. And, what's really important to know is that quality trumps quantity.
Okay.
And so we can look to maximize sleep quality. And so optimize deep sleep, REM sleep, sleep consistency, how regular our sleep is.
Okay.
And this can help offset some of the deficits caused
Okay.
by lack of sleep. There are also a lot of supplements that we can take that
Yeah.
help offset lack of sleep. Creatine is one, for example,
Okay.
that can help reduce the mental fatigue caused by lack of sleep by 25%
Wow, that's
when
huge.
compared to lacking sleep without creatine.
Yeah.
That's just one of them. So, there are many things to do, but I think as a overarching concept, quality can trump quantity. And so rather than fixating on the fact that you cannot get enough sleep and resolving yourself to not being able to, really thrive,
Yeah.
giving yourself back that locus of control and saying,
Mm.
okay, well, what can I do to optimize my sleep quality? And
Yeah.
with that, I have what's called an elite sleep strategy.
Yeah.
There is 4 key components.
Take us through it.
We've-
I'll just let you I'll just listen and you talk because you're just
thank
ticking all the boxes.
I try. So, I have an elite sleep strategy, and each
Yeah.
of these pillars is designed to optimize sleep quality,
Okay.
which remember can offset
Yeah.
insufficient sleep quantity.
Okay.
Okay,
Makes
so
us feel better.
yes,
Yeah.
it does. So there's 4 overarching pillars. We've got an evening exit strategy.
Mm-hmm.
We have morning minutes,
Yeah.
supplements and stimulants,
Okay.
and sleep specifics.
Okay.
Okay. In our evening exit, we have the 3-2-1 method.
Mm-hmm.
Many people have heard of this concept, and so
News to me. Yeah.
so the 3-2-1, 3 hours before bed, you need to lower temperature.
Okay. As
Now,
in core temperature.
so lowering internal core
Yeah.
temperature, which is supported by 3 key factors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so before I get into the actual processes,
Mhm.
I'll explain why. So in order to produce melatonin, our
Mhm.
key sleepiness hormone, our core body temperature needs to decline 0.5 to 1 degree.
Okay.
Now, melatonin, our key sleepiness hormone,
Mhm.
that is a biological signal that helps us fall asleep.
Okay.
So really important to help give us that signal, hey, it's time to wind down. And for anyone who has an overactive mind in the evening, that's going to be really helpful to antagonize that experience.
Yeah.
So how do we start to reduce our core body temperature? There's 2 things you can do at 3 hours. One is stop eating, one is stop exercising.
Okay.
Both will induce thermogenesis,
Yeah.
which is heating of the core body temperature.
Yes.
You can also lower your aircon to a chilly 18 degrees.
Hard for us Melbourne
I
folk to do.
know, sorry. Apologies. It's all in the name of sleep though.
Yeah.
And you can also take a shower or even have a sauna. Now, it might sound really counterintuitive to say, why would you have a sauna if that heats you up?
Yeah.
How is that going to
How
cool
does
you
that
down?
work?
Okay. So it increases your core body temperature, but then when you move out of the sauna, you have a sharper decline.
Okay.
Yeah. So it increases the gradient of the temperature decline, which is then a more aggressive catalyst for melatonin production.
Okay.
A sauna can also be really helpful because when you're in the sauna, obviously it's so hot, but your body still has to function at a relatively stable temperature, just so your vital organs function, heart rate, brain, etc. And so your whole system has to work harder than normal just to stay alive, which is in part why we get so tired when we're in a sauna.
It
Right?
makes sense. Yeah. And to your point there, I would think that in order to get yourself in a sleep ready state, you would actually be getting, we talk about getting cozy and getting your warm pajamas and maybe bringing that body temperature up. But I'm really intrigued that it's actually the opposite.
Yeah. To fall asleep, we need to become cooler, but to stay asleep, we need to stay cool.
Okay.
Now, this is really important for any perimenopausal woman, any menopausal women, because they'll know that hot flashes and sleep are not friends.
Death of them.
Yeah. So what happens is when our temperature spikes overnight, this spikes cortisol.
Mhm.
Cortisol is an awakening hormone that rises particularly around 3 a.m. And so if our baseline levels of cortisol is too high
Mhm.
and we have these elevations in temperature, this can lead to those nighttime wakings. And just statistically, 91% of all perimenopausal women struggle with sleep.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is to do with temperature regulation,
Yeah. Not
because
surprising.
usually the sex hormones like
Yeah.
estrogen, they help stabilize core body temperature.
Okay.
And so when that drops significantly in perimenopause, menopause, but even when we are menstruating, we have this destabilization of core body temperature, which leads to fluctuations through the night, hence leading to cortisol spiking, hence
Fascinating.
leading to waking up.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
mum is menopausal
Mm.
to a whole other degree. Bless you, mum, but what's going on there? And she will send me memes on Instagram at 3:30 in the morning, 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Mum, what are you doing awake? But to your point, it's the cortisol spiking. And I even had a girlfriend the other day actually respond to one of my text messages at 3 a.m. And she said to me, Mill, I just wake up at that time every single night, non-negotiable. So
Yeah.
nice to know now it's hormone related
Yeah,
and
yeah,
no
it's-
one's staying up till
No.
that ridiculous time.
No, it is driven by high levels of cortisol, which
Yeah.
can be related to so many things.
Okay.
You know,
Stress and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah, definitely. So, it's any stressor on the body. A stressor is any form of stress on the
Mhm.
body. That can be physiological, that can be psychological. So, if you're anxious about work the next day, you're anxious
Yeah.
about, if your darling 1-year-old is going to, scream out your name through the night, that is a stress
Mhm.
on the body, and that is going to elevate cortisol.
Okay.
But equally, there's physiological stress. Temperature spiking, that's a physiological stress. Regular drinking of alcohol, anything
Yeah.
over 14 drinks per week for women has been found to elevate our baseline levels of cortisol.
Okay.
Excessive exercise, excessive fasting, insufficient glucose, all
Okay.
of these factors
Yeah.
are all of these factors are stressors on the body
Yeah.
and can elevate cortisol and contribute to those 3 a.m. wakings.
Yeah. So is the insufficient glucose intake, and my mind went there because again, nutrition, is that lack of blood sugar
Yeah.
stability? And,
Yeah.
and is that
Yeah,
what's
yeah, yeah.
occurring? So
Yeah, yeah.
to your point, the fasting, maybe not having like a nutritionally balanced meal prior to going to bed,
Yeah.
they're all contributors.
100%. Yeah. And it's
Interesting.
especially likely for women because we have less muscle mass, we have less glycogen.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have less glycogen.
Yeah.
Glycogen is the reservoir of additional glucose, as you would know, but for our listeners, for sugar. And so if you don't have sufficient sugar in your diet, but you have high muscle mass, then your muscles can essentially buffer
Yeah.
that that instability and that lack of sugar in your blood, right? But as women, we have less muscle mass just physiologically than
Yeah.
men. And so we're more prone to having these this unstable overnight glucose, which can therefore elevate our cortisol and
Yeah.
contribute to those 3 a.m. wakings. Maximizing deep sleep, maximizing REM sleep, which is going to be really supportive for any women, parents, mums, professionals, travelers who aren't getting enough sleep. So the first protocol is your evening exit, which is a 3-2-1 strategy, which is 3 hours before bed, reduce temperature. 2 hours before bed, reduce light.
Okay.
Now, light is the only direct input into your brain's SCN. Now, the SCN is the circadian control center, and it governs melatonin and cortisol. And so, of all of the factors that matter in terms of sleep, light is number one.
Okay.
There is nothing that trumps light because it's the only direct input into our sleep-wake cycle.
Interesting.
Super interesting. And, there's a lot of research which has found that regular evening light, because it has a specific spectrum of light called blue light.
Mm-hmm.
It is very detrimental and damaging to melatonin, the sleepiness hormone that we need to fall asleep,
Mm.
and it can spike cortisol. So much so there was a published paper that found we see, I believe it was an increased likelihood of micro awakenings with regular evening light for 4 hours, which is probably most of us.
Yeah.
We are 59% more likely to have micro awakenings through the night.
Okay.
And for anyone who doesn't know what a micro awakening is, and I don't and I don't expect anyone, because it's such like a sciencey kind of term. It's when you wake up through the night, but you don't consciously detect you've woken up.
Okay.
But you know that you haven't slept well, because you wake in the morning and it's like, oh my God, I am still so tired.
Yeah.
I slept, but I don't feel restored. I don't feel rested.
Is that when you feel like you're awake sort of all night?
Yeah.
Those mornings,
Yeah.
and you're like, I feel like I didn't sleep, but I clearly did.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And one of the key catalysts for that is regular evening light.
Mm.
And most of us do have regular evening light. And it is one of the easiest things we can change.
Yeah.
You know, so many of us, especially when we're, mums, parents,
Things
we
are out
have
of our control.
that we'll have, I know a lot of mums have red night lights in their kids' rooms because they help them sleep. It's also beneficial for adults as well,
Okay.
because red night lights are blue light free, and so it doesn't suppress melatonin.
Okay.
And so, a practical protocol for everyone to take away from this pillar is that alling, I just made up a word. Swap your regular evening lights to red lights throughout the whole house.
Okay.
You can get smart lights. They do it automatically. You don't even have to touch anything. If you can also get them from Amazon, literally they come on automatically, super easy.
Okay.
Wearing 100% blue light blocking glasses also helpful, especially if you're looking at a screen or you're working late at night. In terms of your screens, using night mode, using a red tint, and in terms of your computer screen, using flux, which is like night mode for your computer screen.
Do phones have those settings built in?
Yeah, most of them do.
To be honest, I've never heard of red lights, so I'm learning.
Yeah. It's most of them.
Blue light, yes, but not red.
So if you use like night mode, that's
what's going on.
Yeah. And then the last key point of your 3-2-1 method is 1 hour before bed, take free time. And which
improve in that area, I think.
But it sounds like a long time, but honestly, by the time you start take free time with having a shower, because that's how it separates, your routine. It's a pattern interrupt. Exactly right. And then you do your skincare, you pack up for the night. That's like good 20, half an hour.
Depends how long your skincare regime is.
Yeah.
Mine's like 6 steps at the moment.
Yeah. I just started a new skincare routine and it's so many steps. Yeah. So I'm like spending all this time in the bathroom. I'm like, is this normal?
Yeah, but it's also like kind of a form of self-care. And for
me,
like, I get 20 minutes to myself.
It's great.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, I think 1 hour tech-free time, but by the time you actually jump into bed, you might actually have 20 minutes. But that last 20 minutes, why it's so important to protect? This is especially relevant to anyone who's waking through the night, struggling to switch off. So phones have been found to extend there's research which has found you are 62% more likely to wake through the night when you're using social media in the 30 minutes before bed, and you are 48% more likely to take over an hour to fall asleep when you are using a phone in the last hour.
Which is probably most of us.
Right? And so, yes, light is a problem, because you might think, okay, but what if I'm using night mode? Then it's fine, right? Well, not really, because even with night mode on, it still suppresses melatonin. It still spikes cortisol, and it spikes dopamine, which is an addictive, neurotransmitter in the brain, which overrides the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for decision making.
Yeah.
Which is a very scientific term, which is a very scientific way of saying you know that feeling of, I know I should get off, but I just
Oh,
can't
every
stop,
night.
right? That's dopamine
It's the
taking over.
internal conversation
Yeah,
I think I have with myself every
right,
time I'm scrolling in
right,
bed.
right. Because, when dopamine's high, it really, your prefrontal cortex is impaired, and that is responsible for decision making and judgment. And so, to rely on your willpower at that time
Yeah.
in the face of dopamine being really high, and your prefrontal cortex is already impaired because it's been awake for so long.
Yeah,
And
true.
so it's like trusting a toddler in a candy store.
Yeah, you're just never
Like,
doing that.
just don't.
You're
Just
not.
don't.
Who's going there?
Right? Right? But I think the thing is that you have to really look forward to an alternative, and you have to find something that is engaging but not activating. And so I have 3 recommendations. The first one
Please
is
share.
reading a book, because we all have that, I wish I had time to read that book, and then we never read the book. And it's like, even if you just aim to read 10 pages, that could be your time for reading that book.
Yeah.
Right. Alternatively, meditation. This is one I do most nights. And, you can meditate with, a Bluetooth speaker, so it's guided, or you
Yeah.
can use transcendental meditation. Long-term meditators have 3 times the amount of slow wave sleep compared to non-meditators.
Interesting.
And then breath work is another really good
Yeah.
one. This helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system and calm the body, which then sends bidirectional biofeedback to the brain to relax it too.
Yeah.
So there are 3 great alternatives, and anyone can do them all, and they will all reduce cortisol.
Okay.
And that's the goal for anyone who is wanting to improve sleep depth,
Yeah.
reduce nighttime wakings, and feel more
Yes.
refreshed when they wake up.
Okay, so the goal through whatever lifestyle intervention we're participating in is to reduce the cortisol
That for
prior to
yes,
bed. Yeah.
yes, because I think 9 times out of 10, the main concern that people come to me with is they say, I struggle to switch off in the evening. I've got so much energy, but I'm really tired in the morning, which that is a sign of circadian misalignment.
Okay.
When we have circadian misalignment, we're very alert in the evening, which is driven by high levels of cortisol, and we're very fatigued in the morning because our cortisol levels are too low. We want the opposite. We want to be circadian aligned. We want to have circadian alignment, which is when cortisol levels are low in the evening and higher in the morning.
Okay.
Right? And so all of the steps that I always recommend, including what we're sharing today, is designed to lower evening cortisol, which therefore helps regulate it. So it not only helps you fall asleep easier in the evening, but also helps you wake up with more energy in the morning.
Okay.
Right? So the first, key pillar of that is your evening exit, and that's what we've just shared.
That's your 3, 2,
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1 method. The next is morning minutes. Now, there's just 2 fundamentals here, and basically the same things that we use to help us fall asleep, we're going to use to help us wake up.
Okay.
Morning light and morning movements, right? Morning light, as we mentioned, fundamental to control our sleep-wake cycle. So rather than reducing it, as we do in the evening, we want to maximize our exposure to it in the morning.
Okay.
Getting direct sunlight is absolutely paramount. It is the specific hues, the specific colors of sunrise, the blues and the yellows at sunrise, that triggers our circadian alignment. It starts what's called a melatonin timer. Now, a melatonin timer is when melatonin starts to rise 14 hours later. And when we are exposed to sufficient sunlight in the morning, this will start that timer. And this is facilitated by direct sunlight outside, not through a window, going outside. And I know that nobody in Melbourne wants to hear that because it's bloody cold outside.
No,
I
but
know, I
what you
lived
mean.
here.
You do feel like a physically, mentally, emotionally different person when you actually go out, get fresh air,
Yes.
get some sunshine and vitamin D
Yes.
on your skin.
Exactly, yes. Vitamin D too,
Yeah.
serotonin, which is a happiness hormone. All of this comes from the sun.
Yeah.
So, you don't need long in the sun though. 10 minutes direct sunlight on a regular day is all you need. So let's just say you live in Melbourne. It's really dark outside. It's 5:30. You're getting up. How can you replicate sunlight? there is something called a sunrise simulator. You can get them on Amazon that helps mimic sunlight. The colors from your regular ceiling lights don't do the same. They will stimulate cortisol more than it should be stimulated, which is going to leave you in a greater state of anxiety and stress,
Yeah,
right?
makes sense. So artificial as well.
Very artificial, yeah. So although it seems very like logical, okay, well, I'll just, turn on all the lights. It's not going to be optimal for your circadian rhythm. And it's actually going to drive up cortisol in an unhealthy way,
Okay.
right? So direct sunlight is key, whether that's from the sun or a sunrise simulator or even a ring light. Like we use them for like modeling shoots, things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Content even.
Yeah.
The ring lights,
Content.
it's like a mainstream.
Yeah.
prop
Everyone's got a
these
ring
days,
light.
isn't it?
Yeah. So that also generally has a warm light.
Okay.
And so that can be used as well.
So we're looking for warmth in particular.
Yeah, so it should mimic, how the color at sunrise is not that, harsh midday sun.
No.
So it should be as similar to sunrise
Yeah.
as it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like diffused light. I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah.
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 We can mimic it artificially if we need to.
Yeah. And I think just something to also mention around the melatonin timer. Now, let's just say that you get up and you don't go outside for like 2 hours. You're in bed, you're doing things inside, and then you eventually get out at like 8 o'clock in the morning. That's when your melatonin timer will start. And therefore, you'll delay the release of melatonin that night, that extra 2 hours, which means that you're not going to feel tired until later in the evening. Now, that's really, really helpful for anyone to know because many people say, well, I'm just so awake in the evening. How can I, get tired earlier?
Yeah.
Get outside earlier.
Yeah. That's such a good point.
Yeah.
I find that myself when I take my son out, put him in the pram, go for a walk and get a coffee. It's like, we talk about it setting up our day, but that is genuinely
Literally,
what
it's
it's
true.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably the reason that I do fall asleep, if possible, a little bit
Yeah.
earlier. It's not that I've watched less Netflix or
Yeah.
haven't had a glass of wine. It's probably what I've done earlier.
Yeah,
that day.
100%. It's literally like this is setting your circadian rhythm up for sleep success.
Okay. Starts in the morning.
Starts in the morning. And then coupling that with morning movement. Now that's going to elevate your core body temperature, which remember that's going to be helpful to suppress melatonin. And it's also going to help reset your circadian clock, just like sunlight did.
Yeah. Okay.
Morning movement is also great because it helps release dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone. And that means that we're starting our day feeling good.
So many benefits to movement.
And then it also is just, it's so beneficial for stress regulation. There's also research which has found, regular exercise over 8 weeks can extend our sleep time by 2 hours, which is huge. Yeah. And that was literally found with just 30 minutes of regular exercise.
Yeah.
So,
that's what the physical activity guidelines recommend. It's 30 minutes. It's really not excessive, is it?
Should be fine. Like, honestly, by the time you've walked to get a coffee, like that's,
it's 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Depending how close the cafe is.
Yeah. So honestly, like those are your two fundamentals. There's lots more I could say. I think the only other one to mention would be particularly for women who are waking through the night, having restless, broken sleep, breaking your fast earlier, having some breakfast can be really helpful. It helps anchor your circadian rhythm and helps blunt cortisol. Now, cortisol we want to rise somewhat, but not too much. And if you're fasting for too long if you're fasting too long in the morning, this can elevate cortisol too high and then leave you on almost like a anxiety roller coaster.
Yeah.
So, and when it comes to breakfast, having healthy fats, having protein, having, low GI carbs. It doesn't have to be complex, eggs, avo, sourdough, or even like a protein smoothie, like, with some healthy fats and chia seeds, as long as you're blunting that cortisol with like adequate nutrition and ideally like a balanced meal, that would be, really helpful to help
Definitely.
align your circadian rhythm and also
Yeah.
just give you the energy that you need to thrive.
Exactly. And good for blood sugar stability as well
Exactly
from an
right.
energy perspective, which I'm sure it definitely plays a key role in,
Yeah.
how we're feeling throughout the day. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you a little bit more about
Yeah.
food and
Yeah,
supplements
yeah,
and
yeah.
things, but I'll
I
let
was
you
Wow, yeah, that's well,
are we at
it's
we're at
that's
supplements and
yes, that is the next pillar. So supplements and stimulants.
yeah.
And remember this is all around sleeping deeper, getting more
Mhm.
REM sleep, more
Yeah.
slow wave sleep, reducing nighttime wakings. So caffeine is the first to
Yeah.
don't worry, not avoid. I'm not going to say anyone needs to stop drinking
No,
coffee.
yeah.
Nobody would listen to me if that was the case, so that's all right. But ideally, you want to have no more than 2 coffees
Mm.
before 2 p.m. Now, the biology behind this is that caffeine suppresses adenosine. Adenosine is like a sleep promoting compound, like
Mhm.
the cousin of melatonin. And so we need to have sufficient adenosine in the body in order
Mhm.
to fall and stay asleep with ease.
Okay.
And if we do not have sufficient adenosine, then the researchers found we will sleep shorter and experience less slow wave activity.
Okay.
So, like 4 p.m. coffee can reduce sleep time by over an hour and reduce slow wave activity by 20%. And so we
Okay.
don't want that. So we want to really moderate our caffeine intake
Yeah.
so we can still sleep well that night.
Yes. Does caffeine metabolism have anything to do with genetics? Because my
Yeah.
partner will have a coffee at 9 p.m., no joke,
Yeah.
fall asleep on the couch 10 minutes later, have the best sleep of his life.
Yes, for
And
sure.
it just affects him differently.
Yeah, and my mum's the same. She'll go to
Yeah.
bed having a coffee.
Yeah.
I
It's
understand.
like a,
If I have one coffee, I'll be up for
yeah, I'd be
7
buzzing.
days.
I'd be like, let's start a podcast.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Genetics do play a role.
Okay.
However, in the goal of mastering our sleep, caffeine is one of the most easy to modify factors and something that will have the most potent impact on the nervous system. So, looking to really manage it effectively.
Mm.
I will note that, coffee is pure caffeine. If you opt for matcha or green tea or black
Mhm.
tea, now this can be advantageous to our sleep because this has L-theanine. L-theanine is a calming component,
Yeah.
and that helps offset the stimulation of caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some better options.
Yeah.
And definitely, if you are wanting like a caffeine boost, around 4 p.m. and thinking, okay, well, I'm going to have something, that would be a better option for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We've actually got in one of our drinks, the Beautiful Energy, we've got the natural caffeine from green coffee beans, but
Yeah.
we've paired it with L-theanine and L-taurine, the 2 amino acids that you
Yeah.
mentioned to moderate those side effects of
Amazing.
caffeine, because the jitteriness and the anxiety, it's just,
Yeah.
no thanks.
Yeah. No, nobody has time for that. No.
So I'm
So-
glad we don't have to, avoid caffeine altogether.
Yeah. The other stimulating supplement that I really love for sleep
Mhm.
is creatine.
Yeah.
Mainly for its benefits to help offset the impact of lack of sleep, which I'm aware that at some point we're all going to be lacking sleep.
Yeah.
But it also,
Part of life, isn't it? To
yeah,
an
it's
extent.
just, it's just, life throws us curveballs.
All the
We
time.
need to have,
We've got our
an
strategies.
armory.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mentioned before, it can help offset the impact of lack of sleep.
Mhm.
And, it's really helpful. It just helps regenerate and accelerate the production of ATP, which
Mhm.
is like the energy centers
Yes, that
in
takes
our
me back to my
cells.
uni days.
Yeah, right?
Nutrition
Right?
backgrounds.
Yeah. And so, it's a natural compound. It's got, it's a gold standard of research,
Mhm.
30 years of studies behind it, and, can really help restore that mental clarity, can really help restore that cognitive clarity
Mhm.
and mental stamina and,
Yeah.
physical endurance, especially when we are lacking sleep. And
Mm.
because what happens is when it's a naturally produced compound by the body, but when we lack sleep, we produce less, which
Yeah.
is in part why we feel so tired
Yeah.
and why we are struggling with, brain fog and, lack of concentration. So it can help mediate that.
So is creatine only available in supplement form? Is that the best way to consume it, or can we
Yeah.
get it? Yeah.
Yeah. It is found naturally in food.
Yeah, probably not in the
Um,
quantities that we'd need
yeah, I think,
necessarily. Yeah.
and, from the guidelines at the moment, most, at the moment, it's widely recommended
Mhm.
and, highly regarded. And so, I'm trusting the, 30 years of research and recommending it aligned with that.
For sure.
So yeah, that's definitely in my, in my kit.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the other supplements, I love magnesium.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
Course,
that.
of
Yeah.
course.
All the hype.
It's definitely worth a hype. Magnesium activates GABA. GABA is a primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, which is a very fancy way of saying calming hormone in the
Mhm.
brain. It helps us feel relaxed. It's like the brakes of the nervous system.
Okay.
And especially in perimenopause, when we are menstruating and menopause, our GABA levels drop. And
Okay.
this can be an antidote to that decline.
Okay.
And so it's really, really important, especially for women who are, in those phases, or just women in general who are menstruating. But overall, I would say that most people do, struggle with switching off,
Yeah.
struggle with high levels of stress, an overactive nervous system. And magnesium really helps lower our nervous system activity. So we stay in a more calm, balanced state.
Okay.
You look at the way that, society is designed. It's not designed to keep us calm. It's very
No,
stimulating. It's
overstimulating.
very, very
That
stimulating,
hustle culture is so celebrated at
Yeah,
the moment.
exactly. And so, magnesium can really help buffer that and help remedy that.
And
Re-
from a dosage perspective,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
what are we
sure.
looking at?
So, I don't personally recommend dosages
Okay.
because that would be something that is specific depending on your
For
needs.
sure.
But what I do recommend is looking for the right form. So magnesium threonate, that's really helpful to fall asleep. Magnesium glycinate, that's really helpful to stay asleep.
Okay.
Because glycinate, that helps regulate body temperature, is linked back to
Yeah, it's all making sense.
staying
It's
at
a
a
whole
cool
story.
right.
Taking me from start to finish.
Right.
I'm loving this journey.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my two favorite, and it's really, really important to look for those because there are over 300 forms of magnesium,
Wow.
and there are other types that may be promoted as helping for sleep, and they're not helping for sleep.
So it's important that we critically analyze
very
the label.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So we're looking for magnesium glycinate.
glycinate,
Yeah.
yes, glycinate and threonate, they're great.
Okay, they're the two.
Yeah. So outside of caffeine, creatine, magnesium, the only other supplement that I really make a song and a dance about would be alcohol. Now I call this
Again, one of my questions.
right. I call this the anti-supplement because it's not actually beneficial for sleep. Sometimes we think it is. Oh, it helps me fall asleep. Well, yes, it actually does accelerate your progression into sleep. But when you are drunk and you fall asleep, you don't have naturalistic sleep cycles. And so you'll sleep, but you don't get the rejuvenating benefits. So there are so many functions of sleep. It helps clear out beta amyloid, for example. Beta amyloid is a neurotoxin associated with, brain fog, memory loss, and inability to retain information, inability to recall information. And one of the critical roles of slow wave sleep is that it promotes clearance of beta amyloid. There's like 60% higher clearance in slow wave sleep compared to wake, right?
Okay.
And this is what restores mental clarity and, cognitive precision. So we like this clearance process. Right?
Yes, we want to keep her.
Correct. But when we are falling asleep after drinking, we don't see that same clearance process,
Okay.
right? We also really need sleep for memory consolidation. Now, in slow wave sleep, we consolidate declarative memories. That's facts and figures. That's like, oh, your name's Millie, right? Then in REM sleep, we consolidate procedural memories like, okay, how do I drive a car, right? Or, what's the best if you're an athlete? How can I run at my peak, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the processes, right?
Yes, like those longer term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, again, when we are sleeping after being drunk, we don't have that same consolidation process. It's impaired, it's compromised.
Yeah.
And so you wake up the next day, and particularly it's damaging for REM sleep. Now, REM sleep happens after 3 a.m., between
Yeah.
3 to 6
So
a.m.
that's our
usually.
deepest level of sleep,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It's
Yeah.
our deepest level of sleep. That's where we have procedural memory consolidation. We also have emotional regulation, especially for females. We really need that.
We need that time to
We
regulate.
we do.
Sorry for what I said earlier, but
Yeah.
that gives me
No,
time to
for sure.
regulate my emotions.
What
Yeah, I
I
said when I was in a
Hey,
sleep
it's
deprived
right.
state.
It's also really important for like complex problem solving.
Mm.
So there was a research paper which compared a REM rich nap and an REM deprived nap. So they tested two groups, or it was the same group, but they had them nap for 75 minutes, and then a few days later they had them nap for 75 minutes, but anytime they entered REM sleep, they woke them up.
Okay.
So they had the effect of what happens when you have REM sleep versus non-REM sleep, right? And what they found is that when you had REM sleep, your likelihood of solving a complex problem increased by 40%.
Okay.
So what happens during REM sleep is that after the information has been, inserted into your long-term memory,
Yeah.
REM sleep operates as almost like an editor, like on a Word doc. Like when you're going through a Word doc and you're like looking for patterns, you're looking for commonalities, you're looking, how can these concepts be linked together?
Yeah.
So that's what REM sleep does.
Okay.
And that's why it's referred to as, beneficial for creativity and problem solving, because it discovers how information becomes meaningful to us
Okay.
and helps us solve problems, right? Which is exactly why, we see increased problem solving after REM sleep.
Yes.
Now, linking this back to alcohol blocks REM sleep.
Okay, so we're not actually getting in that deep sleep
Correct.
is there a certain number of drinks that prevent us from?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know the numbers exactly, but what I do know is one drink counts,
Yeah.
and that
It's enough to have an effect.
yes, like that will, in terms of how many drinks, one drink can compromise our sleep by 9%, 3 drinks by 24%, 5 drinks by 39%.
Yeah.
And this is really, really important because, a lot of us are thinking, oh, does one drink count? Yes, it does.
We're always looking for excuses, aren't we? As to
does.
can we get away with
Yeah. And of course, there are going to be times where you are drinking, and it's just being really mindful that even one drink counts and there is no safe limit.
Yeah.
There is not
Yeah.
any.
Even from a nutrition perspective, I often get asked how many drinks is, okay to have. And it's like, well, the guidelines suggest no more than 2 alcoholic drinks per day, but that doesn't mean that that's nutritious or beneficial.
Exactly.
Less is best, but obviously we're mindful that in our society, people do drink.
Yeah.
It's part of
Yeah.
culture and celebration and all of those sorts of things. But to your point, like we will be functioning at our best without it, especially from a sleep perspective.
Exactly. And, just being aware that, okay, if you're experiencing the impact of, not only lack of sleep, but if you're struggling with, symptoms that may indicate that you're lacking REM sleep, you're waking up between 3 to 6 a.m.,
Yeah.
or you're struggling with, memory processes, or maybe you're feeling really stressed and anxious. These are symptoms, they can be symptoms linked to lack of REM sleep, because
Okay.
REM sleep helps with emotional processing. It helps with memory consolidation, and it helps with, staying asleep between 3 to 6 a.m.
Yeah. when you're talking, then I'm just thinking about my postpartum experience and how I felt like I was losing my mind, like from a memory perspective. I
Yeah.
felt like I couldn't remember anything. But when you are up 3, 4 times a night feeding a child, it probably makes sense that I wasn't allowing, my body wasn't having the ability to move into that REM sleep. Would that be correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my 4 supplements and stimulants,
Yeah.
and then the only last component of my elite sleep strategy
Yeah.
and how to really master sleep is sleep specifics. Now that's talking about sleep length, sleep timing, and sleep consistency.
Okay.
So sleep length we've covered
Yeah.
before. Sleep timing is also really important because the way that sleep architecture is designed, before 3 a.m., we predominantly see slow wave sleep.
Okay.
And after 3 a.m., we predominantly see REM sleep.
Okay.
And
It's
so,
quite late in the night, isn't
yeah,
it? So you don't
really
hit that
is.
until
Yeah, around 3
however
a.m.
many hours you've been
Yeah,
asleep,
yeah, yeah.
depending. 6
Yeah.
hours into your
Yeah.
sleep, is that correct?
Yeah.
So then how do you hit REM sleep in a nap? You don't?
Yeah, so you will see a little bit of REM sleep right at the end of a nap. You'll go from, like, sleep cycles operate regardless if you're napping or through the night
Okay.
on a mechanism which is you go from light sleep into non-REM slow wave sleep,
Yeah.
then into REM sleep, then back
Okay.
up into light sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the pre- that happens all throughout the night. However, the amount of time you spend in REM sleep each sleep cycle will become more significant the later it is in the evening.
Okay.
And the amount of time you spend in slow wave sleep
Okay.
in the later it gets in the evening becomes less.
Okay.
So that is why it's really important not only to have enough sleep, but to be getting to sleep at the right time. For females to reach our minimum 7.5 hour requirement, I recommend going to bed ideally around 10 o'clock, which sounds like early for a lot of us. But
yeah, well, that feels late for me.
yeah. Okay, good, excellent.
Give me an excuse to go to bed earlier.
But that's the absolute latest. That is the
good.
latest
Okay,
time.
yeah.
Latest time. This is the latest time, right? And then, to be asleep until at earliest 5:30.
Yeah.
And if you're a male, going to bed, you can go to bed a little bit later, 10:30 to 5:30. But that's the minimum, and that's to say that you're one of those people that needs, 7.5 hours, or if you're a man, 7 hours. You might need 9.5 hours, and you're going to be needing to go to bed a lot earlier than that and staying in bed a lot later than that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then we come to sleep regularity or sleep consistency. This is really important for many reasons, but basically just to optimize our sleep hormones and to enable sleep to be predictable, melatonin to rise when it should, and cortisol to reduce when it should.
Okay.
We need to keep our sleep-wake times consistent. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like everything operates on a 24-hour cycle. And so if you're really awake and alert at like 11 p.m. one night, the next night at 11 p.m., your brain thinks that, okay, well, 11 p.m., it's the time to be alert and awake.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So even one night can interfere.
Yes, it does. It does. Which, that's really important for anyone to know who is finding that it's hard to, get to bed earlier, but then they're staying up really late on the weekends, right? Well,
Messes with the cycle.
correct. You're telling your brain that 11 p.m. is the exact time to be alert and awake. And although it sounds a bit abstract, I bet that most of us have that experience that we don't know what time it is, but if we always eat dinner at like 6 p.m., you don't have to look at the clock. All of a sudden, your body starts producing the hormones and hunger signals that, hey, it's time to eat.
Yeah.
Right? For me, I love a late lunch, and at 2 p.m., I know.
If you're like, don't
that
worry,
is-
guys, it is 2 p.m.
It is late lunchtime.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, I think that's really helpful because it feels like often we have no control over, oh, well, I'm just so awake later at night.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's actually many, many things that we can do to, reduce our stimulation in the evening and reduce that experience of being so alert.
Yeah.
And keeping consistent with our sleep-wake times is one, as well as everything else was just shared.
Yes. Yeah.
So you want a maximum of 30-minute variation in the evenings and the mornings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So consistency is
the
key. Yeah.
Consistency is key.
Yeah.
That's
I feel like I don't have anything else to ask you.
that's the goal.
That can just be an episode.
Yeah.
Olivia, I could have you on the couch with me all day. It's been such a delight to have you joining us. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me. Can't wait to be back and join my next Elite Sleep Challenge. It's on Instagram.
We will be doing that for sure.
Please do, so you can sleep, rise and thrive.
Love it.